Thank you very much. I'm Scott Ciabattari. I'm with Google. Been with Google over 8 years now, always working with the geospatial products. I've worked on the enterprise side for first 3 years, product side for the last 5 years. And I've worked with quite a few of public sector, state and local, federal government. And we're very, very grateful for the information and data that you are really the stewards for. So first of all, I just want to start by saying thank you, because there's a tremendous amount of information that's out there, GIS data. And we are at Google, ever since the acquisition of Keyhole, are acutely aware that people want to find the right information at the right time, and specifically be able to see where it is on a map. And that is not more important at any time than during a crisis. And so in the last couple days, over the weekend, we've been working on the crisis map for the Boulder, well, the Colorado floods, but specifically they've been very bad in the Boulder region. So, and you can see here that we're engaged with the public sector specifically. So with people who are in charge of protecting and helping us. And we're very proud to be able to empower a lot of agencies with information at the right time for either in mobile or whatever it is, but to have this spotlight or platform or whatever you want to call it, but a lot of people go to Google first in order to find information, and that can either be text, or it can be disaster, or it can be during graphical information like maps. So again, I just wanted to start by saying thank you. It's getting a lot of information or awareness in the press as well. So obviously we work with FEMA, we work with State Emergency Operation Center, EMA. This isn't just with Colorado, but that preparation and those partnerships, relationships, really this ability to have outreach and work directly with authoritative sources is one of the things that we're grateful for, but also the citizens that we all kind of serve as a common goal are also very grateful as well. So again, I just wanted to kind of start there. Let me get into, yeah, it's a little fuzzy, but are we going to be okay? Yeah, we're okay? All right. So we've done a lot of work, obviously, with governments, U.S. governments, national governments around the world. We have Google Maps in over 200 countries. We publish more imagery every 2 weeks than we did in 2006. I mean, this is all stuff that I'm sure you're very familiar with. So street view, aerial imagery, satellite imagery. We've published our own maps. That was starting in 2009. And one of the reasons that we did that is we were licensing from TeleAtlas and Navtech, and we were getting a lot of feedback from the public saying, there's something wrong with this map, this street is wrong, or there should be a hospital here, why isn't there a hospital? And these were really important points that we wanted to update, and we were finding the response was 6 to 9 months on average from those types of maps. So we kind of embarked on this journey to create our own navigable base map. And since then, I think we're in over 30 or 35 countries, but we started with Mexico, US, and Canada. So in North America, we own our own base map, which has also allowed for features like bike directions, for example, which kind of sounds a bit silly at times, but the transportation infrastructure that's out there is really critical. So also for roads, for new developments, for real-time transit, all the different features that you see on the consumer version of the map are things that were really enabled by the fact that we're able to update our own base map. So, I mean, one of the things that we're, scalability in terms of disaster, the ability to serve up this information very quickly, very timely. I mean, it really started with Katrina back in 2005, where there was imagery that was being published, or was being flown, I'm sorry, was being acquired, and they needed that imagery immediately. They needed it that minute. So with the traditional, and I kind of heard this in other presentations of, how long it might take to do something, and I mean, we're all kind of resource constrained and tools and what we have. I mean, at Google, we're really quite blessed. We're the 4th largest server manufacturer in the world, and we only have one customer ourselves. So we have these tremendous data centers that we can harness for processing. And one of the things that really highlighted that was Katrina, was being able to push this imagery out so quickly and in a timely fashion. So we've just seen that repeatedly with disasters all over the world, and most recently in Colorado. So let me kind of dive in. So what we really do is allow you to aggregate, collaborate, and enable people who need to know the right information at the right time. So there are lots of different data silos out there. There's lots of information. It's really, when can you get it? And I was talking to a friend today, and he said, a lot of us turn to Google for information. It'd be great if we could get maps and data information of, even a parcel map that's published for a particular county. To be able to see that or to discover that on Google would be pretty amazing. And so we're working towards that, of allowing people that ability to discover information at the right time. Just to kind of look at, I'm part of the Google Enterprise team, which has multiple different pillars, if you will. One of the things that Google's known for is search, obviously. And this little, we call it kind of the Swiss cheese box. It's called the Google Search Appliance, and that's behind your firewall. It'll go out, crawl, index, and provide a search box for you for any of the documents that you have internally. So what's interesting with this is that all maps really have some, obviously geospatial, there can be property information behind it, there can be inspection records behind it, and this allows you to tie those documents to that map. And we're seeing that across the country and across the world, where people are using the search appliance to get maintenance records for roads at the DOT, for example, and then be able to provide that. I've got a couple of examples come up to me afterwards I can show you. Geospatial, obviously, maps on Earth. Apps, state of Wyoming is for the state itself, has standardized on Google Apps. So that means for collaboration, not just Gmail, but for sites, for forms. So for example, putting up websites very, very quickly where you can collaborate with other agencies. And we've seen this with emergency response really be pretty amazing in the sense that you can create these standard forms, and I think we all know the more preparation you put in before a disaster, the more you're able to save during that disaster. So the forms that have been created where they can just pre-populate or the specific information, then it goes to a tricks, which is a word for a spreadsheet, like a Google spreadsheet. And then you can publish that to a map. So people all in the counties around, Colorado is another example that has Google Apps. Anybody in those counties, public information officers, et cetera, can put in information into these forms. They populate the tricks, and then the state is aware of it, and then also the federal agencies can be aware of it as well. So it allows you that ability to go from a local level to a macro level very, very quickly. And so we're seeing that the integration of maps with traditional kind of applications or with search and discovery. Cloud services, infrastructure as a service or a platform as a service. Again, I kind of mentioned those servers. A lot of people are looking to us to store information now. They're going from a client-server model, wanting to get away from the administration or the hardware costs, and going to a cloud model. So a lot of people are looking to Google either for Google Drive, which is a part of Google Apps where you can store documents, etc., or with Google Maps Engine, which I'll get into later, which is the ability to upload layers or data sets. And they can be raster, they can be vector, they can be imagery, they can be parcel points, what have you. So that's on the Google Maps Engine side, which is basically kind of a cloud service for GIS. And then Chromebooks are devices. I still have a laptop, I also have a Chromebook, where basically when you fold them up, they close, they don't have any hard drives. So from a security standpoint, the Chromebooks are also the ability to give somebody a full keyboard, full display, but not have to worry about the security administration, because once they close that information, they can't take anything out of it. So we're seeing that a lot with healthcare, for example, with caseworkers. So just to kind of give you a broad spectrum, I know when you go to Google, it's google.com, and when it's difficult at times to talk to someone, so I wanted to make sure that it kind of gave a broad overview of some of the things that we're doing with Google Enterprise to help. And this kind of goes into a bit of an eye chart with applications. We have developer platforms. 50% of Google is technical engineers, so we're very API friendly, meaning that we publish these services, and then with APIs you can extend them and customize them into your own applications. If you want to have an application server, you can do that. If you want to do big data type of queries, you can do that. That's all over on the developer platform over on this side. We have Marketplace, which you can develop applications for the Marketplace, very similar to iTunes. Android market share, I think, is, I want to say, about 60% right now. So just the curve itself has been beyond what any of us would have thought. So the Android platform itself is a key platform to develop for. Earlier there was talk about Silverlight and Flash, and I think people really looked at Google in terms of what kind of standards are scalable. So HTML5 and these different applications that if you're doing custom development or looking for platforms. Some of the key challenges we're really seeing in government, really the resources. I mean, we're all kind of tapped for resources. So how can we be more efficient with really technology? And it's one of the big enablers of our economy as a whole, but also of the GIS industry, of the mobility platform. So many people now have smartphones, and one of the things that the mantras or the headlines at Google is to work the way you live. So if you're using all this technology outside of work, why wouldn't you want to use it inside work? So we've heard that from governors, from ministers of, I can do this at home, why can't I do this at work? Why is it taking so long to do it at work? So one of the things that in the enterprise team, we're enabling a lot of that. So when I talked about Google Maps Engine earlier, with one click you can publish to desktop and to mobile. So you don't have to do the mobile development. You can already view that map on an iOS or on an Android. So we kind of have mobile in mind already. We also have security in mind. We're, have started in the cloud. So we're very familiar, and we know people are trying to hack us all the time, 24/7. So the security we have is very, very strong. And really kind of the bottom line is getting the information to the right people at the right time, and that's what's really key. We have legislators on the, come out of a meeting, they want to know what congressional district this transportation project is on. That's something that could be done within minutes on Maps Engine, and then publish it out do the access control list, or ACL, to that particular person who's at the Capitol, and they could view it on their smartphone. So within minutes, they can then, have an answer. And then a lot of the rest of this is coming from Gartner, so a lot of the trends that we've already talked about today. Just kind of coming back to emergency operations, it's really that first 72 hours is what we see. And, there's big data. There's also the data sharing, where agencies want to be able to provide information. If they've already provided it beforehand, it's obviously easier to publish that out. One of the things that we see, though, is people are able to quickly provide the evacuation routes, and then we can change that very quickly, just as you saw in the crisis map. So as these boundaries change, we change it on crisis map, which is Google Maps engine, by the way. So we change that layer, we do an edit, and then we publish it out. We can also have internal viewers of that information going back to the access control list. So we also see, from a day-to-day, or even from a post-incident response, is that change detection. So again, doing some raster analysis using the data centers that we have, there's the ability to do that as well. And then obviously to publish out to a lot of different social mediums. The alerts was another thing that was really, really key, or has been key for Boulder. Being able to publish that out and working with standards committees, so that it really is kind of, a level playing field for all providers, for services and standards. I mentioned a bit earlier the search box where, and this is used in public safety, for example, where a parole officer or police want to know if there are warrants for a particular person. And it's kind of, it's safety. If there are two people with warrants in a household, that's going to be more dangerous than one, first of all. So there's officer safety involved. There's also efficiency, where if somebody's been pulled over and a warrant from a different county or a different state didn't quite populate, or from a different agency, the DOJ at that state may have had an ongoing case, and it didn't show up on the officer's information. A lot of different use cases, but obviously the information, the right time at the right place, is really, really key here. So that's where we're able to provide this search discovery, and then obviously being able to view that information on the map. This is also integrated into a lot of computer aided dispatch, so different 911 systems, et cetera. And the common operating picture, this is a common term, common operating picture, but we've really done this for Alabama, for Maine, for different states around the country. And what we see is that the counties start to get very involved with this as well. Once they start to see that their information is being published, it's valuable, they can see it on a statewide basis. It really gets that aggregation and collaboration statewide. So we're seeing it as a great bridge in terms of data sharing, which I know is has been a challenge for a long time. And what we're starting to see is that the ability through some technology, it's starting to happen, and we're really quite excited about it, because it with incidents, with response, with communication, it just helps for everyone. We're also starting to see, unfortunately, with schools, with some of the incidents that happen with schools. So the ability to, in the lower right here, you see a floor plan. We're getting this request more and more with, can you help us publish all the floor plans for our school district? We want to know where this, if there is a shooting disaster, God forbid, we want to know where things are. And so, again, people having that ability on a phone, smartphone, being able to see that information quickly at the right time saves lives. So the real-time data feeds, this kind of comes back to standards with WMS, and again, being able to publish this very quickly, and we're able to publish out WMS as well. So again, kind of that interoperability for data is really important. So this happens to be Superstorm Sandy. Again, kind of coming back to that school example, for cameras, camera information, face recognition, I've brought a special thing that you may have seen in the news from Google recently. I'll be able to show that at the afterwards at the fair. And so we're seeing, you know, being able to view something, having that face recognition or having the response or knowing directions to a particular place. City of Atlanta is doing this, for example, where they're able to network all their cameras. I think City of London has done this in the past, but we're starting to see the adoption and the ability to view it on a platform with speed is really key. People don't have 10 seconds to wait for a browser to upload or you know, click through multiple things. We're seeing this in public health. These are heat maps. If there was, you know, the bird flu type of examples, or public health is always has a seat at the table with emergency response due to, you know, medical disasters that can happen. So, you know, and they have their own particular use cases of appointed dispensary, what's the inventory, who's been affected, who hasn't, that type of information. Again, this is Google Maps engine, where you're able to, with our API, populate this information. So the different hospitals could fill out those forms, populate Google Maps engine, and then you see it on the map. We also have for field operations something called Google Coordinate, which is a mobile workforce, and it can be for public safety, it can be for health case workers, it can be for public works inspectors, where they are assigned a task, they know where to go, they can put comments in on that task, and they can see where they need to go, and a dispatcher can see where everybody on the team is. So we're also starting to see this adopted by emergency response, where there are, you know, kind of good Samaritans or volunteers that want to contribute, take pictures of a particular incident, send it back. That can all be enabled with Google Coordinate. This is Google Coordinate with a with public safety. So this happens to be Washington, D.C., but you can also see, you know, the status of people. You can start to put in kind of custom icons, maybe what their specialty is, and color code. So this is, again, taking kind of these core services that we provide via an API, customizing them for your own environment, you know, whether that's a snowplow tracker with Trax API to see where that's been, or with Google Coordinate. And then with, this is predictive policing. So I mentioned a little bit about big data. We're seeing people using that big data for real-world examples. So the ability to see trends. We've always kind of had flu trends. If you do a Google search for flu trends, you'll see that. But if you start to apply this to public safety, to fraud, you know, different trends that you can see using the data, that's something that a lot of our partners are doing this, a lot of agencies are doing this. So, you know, again, it's something that I could provide additional information. But Los Angeles, for example, is using this. And in empowering citizens, there's often, how can we get more information from citizens? So we can only be so many places at one time. How do we get that information? And there are applications, My Mobile Witness, where kind of like the CNN news reporter for, you know, people that are out there, you can take a picture and then publish it to Google Maps. You can also send information in. So it allows you that ability to reach out and have community relationships where they're able to report something during an incident. I mentioned Search and Geo. So this just happens to be a website of California, stateofcalifornia.gov. And if you go to ca.gov and type in DMV, over in the right here, you'll see the DMV offices. It's also kind of cool there. You also see the wait time. I don't know how many people want to go to DMV, but so you can see that as well. There's additional information that, again, you can customize with whatever data you have at your site. Florida Hospital, again, being able to see information for a particular, dentistry or knee surgeon or what have you. It's just, we're all so familiar with maps and the value of maps. This room, I don't have to repeat that. But citizens are also starting to expect to see maps. And that's really the game changer that's happened in the last couple of years. It's something that is expected now to be able to see this information. This is the fraud detection example I mentioned. So if you have Medicaid, people are putting in for reimbursement, they've got pharmacies that are 300-400 miles away, you're going to be able to see that a lot faster on a map than you would on a spreadsheet. Well, if they're in the same state, I guess, if they go to different states. But on a map, you can really start to detect this. You can run this type of analysis, and this saves real dollars. And there's a lot of Medicaid fraud out there. So there are other versions of that, but this is one where being able to use that big data, see it on a map, and that's what's really key. Macomb County in Michigan, which, if we're familiar with Detroit and just the financial situation there, they look to Google to say, okay, let's use a Google search appliance to search all of our records and be able to provide that to citizens. So it's something, and then you can also see that on a map. So again, those results, let me click on this, let me then see it on a map to see. Again, with the robo signatures and everything, they were able to detect some fraud that was out there, but also be able to serve their citizens. So there's multiple benefits to these different applications, and it's really kind of a new approach to looking at some apps. This happens to be a video. I can skip this for now in the interest of time. Go to, and this from, again, I mentioned enterprise, and this is specific to the Geo stack itself. So there's Coordinate, which it's really a very quick download. You go to the Google Play Store, you download it to your smartphone, whether that's Android or iOS. And then, I guess it would be Android, sorry. And then on your dispatch, you can see the emails that have registered and then say, okay, I want that person to be on a team. And it's that easy. So you can then assign tasks to that person. It's one of the quickest kind of mobile dispatch systems that's available out there. If anybody's remembers Latitude, which was the consumer version of this like 6-7 years ago, those with kids may have had your 10-year-old with a phone. I want to know where you are, so it was Latitude, was the consumer version of this. So this is the enterprise version of it. Google Earth Pro, that's that, the downloadable client that's on the desktop. Earth Enterprise is the flyable globe that you can have behind your firewall using the ingredients of imagery, terrain, and vector. And that's completely disconnected from the internet. Google Maps API. There are multiple APIs there. So there's Street View, there's give me directions with real-time traffic analysis of if there is a crash on this particular highway, we're going to route you around that, and we're going to tell you how long it's going to take. So for police, for fire, for ambulances, that's really key, as well as for a lot of citizens. And then Google Maps Engine is our latest offering really for a platform, cloud platform that allows you to create, process, and manage maps. And also give you the authority to say, okay, who has access to upload this information, which is really key. That's that control component of who has the ability to upload the maps. Because one of the things we hear during disasters of, oh, people grab these maps, they create these websites, and they're wrong. So this allows you the ability to have the authoritative source upload to Maps Engine, and then you have the ability to publish those maps to the public or to internally. So you have the access control list to do that. So what's next? Kind of sharing data across platforms. We're seeing a lot with, obviously ESRI, Autodesk, Bentley. There are a lot of applications that are out there, desktop applications. We have quite a few partners that are out there that are creating these kind of data bridges, if you will, between desktop and cloud. How do you share this information across multiple platforms? So you can do your update in Arc Desktop that can be published to Google Maps Engine. It can then be viewed by hundreds of millions of people when you look at the public metrics of how popular Google Maps and Google Earth are. So it's something that has been needed for a while, and I think we're seeing multiple partners and vendors doing this. Indoor floor plan maps. This is on the public map, by the way. So if you looked at Denver Airport right now on your phone, you'd be able to see indoor maps, which is nice because we can also give you walking directions from where you parked to where that gate is. So we'll take you through security and everything else. And this is kind of a benefit of being able to own the base map. So we can do these innovative type things with, well, what else? Well, we're indoors quite a bit. Why wouldn't we want maps for indoors? Kind of comes back to the engineers asking these questions as well. So they like big challenges like that. We're also offering our Ortho imagery is available for purchase. So, and that's imagery behind, you can access and use it behind your firewall. So we have 6-inch aerial imagery that's available nationwide. We don't have a full footprint, but depending on the state, we have either 100% or I don't know the exact metrics, but we have this base map that is available as a catalog for aerial imagery that for the first time we're offering, and that's been for the last couple of quarters now, and we're seeing a tremendous interest in, wow, it would be great to have this. We've used it with Google Earth, we've used it with Google Earth Pro, we'd like to use it in other applications. So this is something that, we've heard that demand, and we are now offering that to public sector. And then this is, it's just in terms of new things that are happening. So this is Sergey Brin, and this is Google Glass. So, kind of a display that you're able to view. You can do searches, you can do phone calls, you can do video, you can do Hangouts, which are, I forgot to mention on Android actually, one of the cool things is that you're able to do a video conference with whoever that mobile worker is. So if it is a fire in a warehouse, they can actually show real time what the chemicals are, if they're chemical barrels or anything like that, so that they could get a response from dispatch. If you take that to the next level with Google Glass, then you have people who are able to see exactly what you can see. Or if you need to get information out to them, like floor plans on the display, they're able to see that information, get directions to where they need to go. So this is a little sci-fi, but and some of the federal 3-letter agencies might be doing some work on this. Let's just kind of leave it at that. So in terms of geo-difference, familiar user interface, and that's with hundreds of millions of people around the world. So there's over 1 billion downloads of Google Earth. There are over 1 million websites using the Google Maps API. So we have hundreds of millions of people on a daily basis using Google Maps. I think that's just on mobile, actually. So on the desktop, it's a very large number. What we're really doing is, again, I kind of opened with, there's already a lot of data that's out there that has been carefully created and is very valuable and has to be accurate. We're most interested in publishing the most accurate information. We want to give the best results to a user, whether that's at google.com and you type in a text question, or if it's on Google Maps. We want to show the most accurate maps. So if there are streets, if there are any information that's out there, we want to be the most accurate. And so what we see is that it's an extension of customers' current GIS investment, because there's a lot of work that's gone in to create this accurate data, and we're helping to publish it to a lot of people. So it enhances a lot of the existing solutions that are out there. I kind of mentioned the massive cloud infrastructure that we have. The speed is something that really becomes apparent during the incidents, where we all kind of talk about speed and how fast things are. It's really the scalability. Is your site going to go down if it gets 100,000 hits? Is it going to go down at 1 million hits? Our sites don't really go down. So I mean, I can't think of a time when it did. And that's just really critical. That comes back to the people rely on us to provide information at the right time, at the right place. It also goes for development as well. Our APIs are very well documented, very easy to work with. Give you the flexibility to build once and then to deploy to either desktops or mobile devices. And that security and reliability, I mean, we're coming from the cloud. So that's how we deliver our solutions. And so the security has already been built in, knowing that people are going to be accessing it and wherever they're accessing it from. So that, I will kind of wrap up, and hopefully that's the right time. Very good. Thank you.